Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be learning how to draft this very easy palazzo trouser with pockets. Okay, so I folded my fabric into two like so. Then I'm going to get my full length. Measure your full length, you mark, add 2 inches for seam allowance to your full length and then mark it. This is a very easy way to sew your palazzo trouser. Like, it's really so easy and it's beginners friendly. So keep watching. So now I'm going to measure my hip from my waist. I measured 9 inches. Then from my waist to my hip, 9 inches. I just drew the line. So I'm going to take my crotch measurement. So I measured 12 inches. You have to measure your clients, or you can, normally I do my hip circumference divided by 4 plus 2 inches to get my crotch. So I marked my knee from my waist and then I drew the line there. And then on my hem, I'm going to mark 2 inches on my hem like I am doing. So mark 2 inches on your hem. And then on your knee, you're going to mark 1.5 inches. Okay, so you're going to connect from your hip to that 1.5 you marked on your knee to make your hip curve. Just connect it like I'm doing. And then you're going to extend that line to the 2 inches that we marked on the hem. Just connect it like I'm doing. So what you want to do now is to mark 1 inch on your waist on that side. Okay, mark 1 inch, and then I'm going to connect it back to my hip like this. Okay, so now I'm going to just put my measurements. So from that line, I'm going to mark my waist divided by 4, and I added 2 inches seam allowance. Then for my hip circumference divided by 4 plus 2 inches seam allowance. Then for my tie, we're going to divide the tie by 2. Okay, so you divide your tie by 2, and I'm going to add just 1 inch seam allowance. Add 1 inch seam allowance for your tie. So I'm going to connect the lines with a slight curve like so. So I'm just going to bring down that line, just mark a straight line from that area. Just bring it down like I'm doing. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to cut it off, cut out my front. Just follow the lines that you marked to cut out your front pattern of your palazzo. Okay, then I'm going to cut the other side, starting from there that we marked. Just follow your markings. So I'm done cutting. I'm going to place this on another folded fabric to cut my back piece. So I've already placed it on another folded pattern, okay, and I left some space on this area and also on this area, okay, because we'll be needing some space. And then at the top you also need to leave about 2 inches space for the back on that area. So what I want to do now is I'm going to mark ½ inch on this side. Okay, I'm just going to mark ½ inch all the way up. Just watch what I'm doing. Just mark your ½ inch like this. So when I get to the crotch area, okay, I'm going to mark 1.5 inch on the back, on the crotch area for the back, 1.5, and I'm going to connect it like so to that 1 inch I was marking, okay. So now I'm going to just mark like I am doing for the back and connect it to that 1.5. Okay, this is just to create space for your butt area, okay. So on that edge on my waist area for the back, I marked 1 inch there. That is for my dart. I'm going to put that for my back. So I connected it to my hip like so. So now I'm going to cut the back off. I won't be putting that for my front because it's a palazzo. I'm just going to be putting that on the back. So I'm going to cut it off like this. So when I get to that hip area, okay, I'm going to follow the line for the 1 inch I measured for my dart. Okay, like this, and just cut it off. Then for this other side, you follow the ½ inch that we marked. Just follow your markings. Okay, so I'm going to cut it to meet with my front, okay. So here is what I have. So now on the top part of my back, on the crotch area, this area that I'm pointing at, I'm going to mark 1.5 inch there. Now I'm going to connect it to from there to there with a straight line like so. Connect it, and then I'm going to cut it like this. Just going to have like a slant effect like that. So for the front piece, I marked half inch on that area, and then I connected it with a slight slant like so. Okay, then I'm going to also cut it off. So we're done with that. So I'm just going to take out my front. I'll fold my back into two to get the midpoint. Okay, and then I'm going to notch it. That is where I'm going to be sewing my darts. So now we're done with this, and I'm going to cut out my pocket area, or where I'm going to be fixing my pocket for the front pattern. Okay, so I'm going to measure 4 inches from that side. I measured 4 inches. Then from the waist down, I measured 6 inches. Now I'm going to connect it with a curve. Okay, that's the shape I want. You can actually do a slant shape, but I'm just going to do like a slight curved shape like this, and I'm going to cut that off. So that's where I'll be attaching my pockets, and I'm going to show you very easy way to attach your pockets without much stress. So I've cut out my pockets, and here this is what I'll use to attach my pocket. So it's two-piece, and it's measured 10 inches for the length, and then 15 inches for the width. So when I fold it, I'm going to have 7.5 for the width. Okay, so here is for my waistband. I measured the length of my waist. This is on fold, so I measured my waist circumference, divided it by 2. I added 2 inches seam allowance. Then I marked 4.5 inches for the width. Okay, so I marked 4.5 inches, and I connected it with a straight line. So I'm going to cut that off. Remember, I said I measured 4.5 for the width because it's not on fold. So by the time I fold it over like so and join it to my waist by half an inch, I'm going to have 2 inches left. Okay, so now we are going to join our pattern. So here is the pocket, one of my pockets. Okay, and here is my one piece of my front. So I'm going to place it on my pocket like so, front facing front. Okay, and I'm going to secure it with a pin. Just make sure that it matches your pocket. Remember, front facing front. Okay, so I'm just going to secure it with my pins. So I'm going to sew it with 1/4 inch. Okay, so I was done sewing it with 1/4 inch. Here is what it looks like. Now I'm going to cut off this Okay, as a beginner, it's easier to fix your pockets this way. You fix before you cut it out so that you don't, it's just easier. So I cut it out and I'm going to slightly notch that area. Please be careful so you don't cut through your seam. So now I'm done notching that. I'm going to turn it. This is what it looks like in front. So I'm just going to face it like this. Okay, just going to iron that area so that it lays flat. Okay, so now what I want to do is to flip it like so. Make sure it matches. Okay, and I'm going to sew this area with half of an inch. So I'm just going to do that again so you understand it. So here is what it looks like. Okay, I'm just going to fold it over like this. Make sure it matches that area and sew it with half of an inch. So I've gone ahead, I've sewn it with half of an inch. Okay, and the next thing to do now is to secure this side with a stitch. Okay, so I'm going to match up the seams there. Okay, like this. Just going to secure it with a pin and then stitch it by just a quarter of an inch or even less. This is just to hold your pocket in place, hold it to your trouser on that area. Okay, so you do the same thing for, so you stitch it, hold it in place. Okay, hold it to your trouser and then you do the same thing for this top side. Make sure the it matches. Okay, and then you're going to just secure it with your pin and then stitch it by a quarter of an inch. Okay, see, it's already coming into shape. So stitch this area and stitch this area too. So I've done that and my pocket is ready. So I'll do the same thing for the other side of my pocket of my trouser. That's the other piece of my trouser. Okay, and then going to I'm just going to this is my pocket. I've also done the same thing for the other side. So I'm going to join the front crotch together. So place my crotch, my front, my front piece, front facing front, and join the crotch with a quarter, or sorry, half of an inch. So I've joined it. I've joined my crotch with half of an inch. Then I'm also going to join the back crotch with half of an inch. Okay, with the back crotch, I'll join it with half of an inch like I did the front. So I've joined the back crotch with half of an inch, and then remember we notched this area for our dart. So I'm going to sew my dart. So I'll just pinch it like so and measure 4.5 inch and sew by half inch to the 4.5 inch I measured. So my dart length is going to be 4.5. Okay, so I've sewn my dart and here's what it looks like. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to join my front and the back. I'm going to join the crotch area first. That is the inseam, the inner seam, starting from this area, the crotch area. I placed my front to my back, that is front facing front. Okay, so I'm going to match up my seam, my crotch seam, the front and the back. Just match it up like so. Okay, then you open up your seam so that it lays flat. Okay, so I'm just going to start from there, join all the way to my hem by half of an inch. Then I'll do the same for this side, sew all the way down to my hem by half of an inch, and then I'll also join the sides. Okay, and when you're joining the sides, remember you measure, you will leave space for your zipper allowance because you're going to be attaching zipper to the side. So I'm just going to sew my waistband. Okay, I sewed it to the back and I folded half an inch and covered the seam, okay, to the front. I'm just going to sew it at the edge like so. Okay, so I'm done sewing. Here is what it looks like. I also fixed my zipper and here is what it looks like. If you want to watch the video of how I made the crop top I paired with it, I'll leave the link in my description box. Thank you for watching and see you in my next video.